Now, gunmen have attacked worshippers of the Hask Baptist Church, Manini Community, Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. During the attack, a medical doctor was said to have been killed, while some other persons have been abducted. Eyewitnesses say the bandits stormed the church while service was going on and opened fire on worshippers.
And in its response, the Kaduna State chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria is condemning the killing and abduction of church worshippers at the Haske Baptist Church. In reaction, the Kaduna Christian Association of Nigeria says it is saddened by the development. It is expressing concern over the state of the security situation in the country and in particular, Kaduna State. The association is also urging the government to take preemptive measures before citizens resort to self-help.
Now for more on the insecurity situation in Nigeria and the crisis surrounding the support given to Al-Qaeda in the past by the current Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Pantami. We're now joined by an award-winning journalist, David Hundeyin. David, good to have you.
Thank you for having me, Akana.
Yeah, David, let's go straight to the matter. You recently published some documents on your Twitter handle, and you said you'd been sitting on those documents for, say, like 6 months. Describe the nature of those documents and why you chose to sit on it and why you chose to release it now.
So it's a report called Silent Slaughter, Genocide in Nigeria, the implications for the international community. It was published, put together and published by two NGOs called ICON, that's the International Committee on Nigeria, and PSJ, which is the Project for Peace Building and Social Justice. I did some work on the project. I was a minor contributor to the project. And what the project sought to do essentially was to go to Nigeria's Middle Belt and put together data and information proving that the massive loss of life that has been recorded in that area over the past decade isn't random. It isn't just an unfortunate sequence of events, but that under international law can be correctly classified as a genocide. And the reason for that was that under American law, wherever something which can be classified under international law as a genocide takes place anywhere on earth, the US government is obligated to step in. That's an American law. So essentially, the goal of the project was to demonstrate to the US government that what has been happening over the past decade in the Middle Belt of Nigeria, particularly in Benue State and in Taraba, satisfies the requirements for being acknowledged as a genocide, because in that case, the US government will then be obligated to step in to do something about it. And the most immediate example that can be used as a point of reference is that of the Darfur region in Sudan. So if you remember, sometime in the early to late noughties, there was a huge humanitarian crisis in Darfur, which was caused by a genocide. The majority, the regime-backed militia were essentially trying to depopulate the Darfur region of Sudan, which was mainly populated by traditionalists, animists, and Christians. And they were trying to artificially repopulate that area with Arab and Berber Muslims. And the US government recognized it as a genocide, and they appointed a special envoy to Sudan. And that was the beginning of the end of the saga. That was eventually what led to the end of that humanitarian crisis. So the purpose of that report was to prove that the violence over the past decade in the Middle Belt was a genocide. I actually have a copy of the report here. And if you go, it's actually available online now. You can actually Google it and download it. Once again, the name is Nigeria Silent Slaughter, Genocide in Nigeria and the Implications for the International Community. Now, why I chose to sit on it since last year was because the information contained in this report is, there's no other way to describe it other than heavy. It's very heavy information. It's not the sort of thing that you just put out lightly, or casually. It might not even be safe to just put it out randomly because you don't know what sequence of events might be sparking off. So I just sat on it because I didn't really know what to do with it. I mean, if you have information proving that your government potentially is implicated in at least tacitly endorsing an active genocide, an ongoing genocide in your country, then what exactly are you going to do with that information? But A few days ago, when a communique from 2010 was leaked, that is the document from the JNI, which basically laid out in very, very granular detail plans to unleash violence on Nigeria's north and middle belts, and to essentially make it such that the traditionalists and Christians in those areas were going to face the fight of their lives. They were going to be killed. They were going to be displaced. They were going to face maximum discomfort. And this was orchestrated. This was planned very carefully. And this was all written down. And there were names attached to this document. And then it's on historical record that this meeting actually took place, because at the time it took place, it was actually reported that it took place. But the details of the meeting are what have just been released now. And when I saw that, then I thought that, okay, it's finally time, I think, for this information to come out now. Because I think now this information can be properly contextualized. Because if it had come out before, possibly there might be that pushback that it's just so shocking, so so hard to believe, and there is no point of reference. So people will just push back against it, unthinkingly. But this time around, because there was that point of reference that, okay, so this was the precursor to this. This happened in 2010. A meeting chaired by Pantami, which took place in 2010. People actively sat down and decided that over the next few years, we are going to wreak religious mayhem on this part of the country, and we're going to do it for the explicit purpose of rolling back
David.
Yes.
Thank you for giving that background. But just to say that the JNI has issued a statement and dissociated itself from that, as well as debunking those information, associating it to those reports. But let me ask you, the minister and the government of the day don't find anything in his past, so damning enough for him to resign or to be sacked. And the response of the government came through Garba Shehu, who says the government stands with the minister. How did that make you feel?
First of all, let me just respond to the denial by the JNI. Well, of course, the JNI would deny it. They're hardly going to come out and say, yes, we sat down and planned the genocide, are we? They're not going to say that. And by the way, with regard to the authenticity of the document, my own independent verification has it such that someone whose name I can't mention, but he's an aide of the ex-Kaduna State Governor, Patrick Yakowa, who died in a helicopter crash in 2012. I got this document basically confirmed from this person. So except this person who worked directly with Patrick Yakowa was telling me lies, this document is genuine. And the GNI, in fact, is telling lies. Now, with regard to how the president's decision or the presidency's decision to stand behind Pantami made me feel, I don't think it's a question of how it made me feel, because how I feel is unimportant. It's irrelevant to the question. The issue is that 200 million people potentially are being driven toward a precipice, toward the edge of a cliff, because certain people in power, either actively or tacitly endorse the actions of, people who share certain points of view with Pantami. I don't think it would have been the most difficult thing in the world to just find a way to quietly ease him out. So even if you don't fundamentally disagree with Pantami or his past, or his presence really, but which some, continue to insist is his past, or even if you yourself don't think that differently from the way Pantami thinks, I think from the point of view of optics, at the very least, it would have been expedient to find a way to ease him out. So at least maintain a veneer of credibility, of respectability, of legitimacy. But now they have done that. They've very clearly come down on the side of Pantami against public opinion, against the Nigerian people. They've set themselves up in opposition to the electorate, which I'm not quite sure how that works or what the plan is going forward. Because if they think that this issue is over, because Garba Shehu released a statement saying that it's over, well, they're making a very big mistake.
Okay,
because
David,
more and more information is going to keep on coming out about Pantami over the next few days and weeks.
Okay, in a very short, I think you have about a minute. I don't know, you can pick the one you find more vital to explain. For those who are wondering, a genocide? How does this qualify as a genocide? Who is the perpetrator? Who are the culprits? You said it's the Middle Belt. And then ultimately, you reached out to the foreign powers. Did you achieve your objectives by reaching out to them through that document?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that we got an acknowledgement from the US government. Like, yes, you may have a case. And so as a result of that, Nigeria was placed on a list of countries of concern for strangling of religious freedoms, which was put out by Mike Pompeo shortly before Donald Trump left office. But no, in the sense that that wasn't really the outcome we were looking for. What we were hoping for was that the US would appoint a special envoy to Nigeria, which obviously is still a possibility. It depends on what the Joe Biden administration decides to do with the fact that Nigeria is now on that list. Obviously, the Democratic Party has a certain history of engaging with Nigeria in a certain way. So some aren't all that optimistic.
Apologies,
about the possibility of that
David.
happening, but
I do apologize. I gave you more to chew on, and we don't have enough time to cover everything. But thank you for your time.